At 2:32 in the afternoon, America's stock market looked nervous but functional. Minutes later, the Dow had fallen almost 1,000 points. Shares of major companies briefly traded at absurd prices. Nearly $1 trillion in market value appeared to vanish before much of it suddenly returned. There was no power failure, no bomb, and no single trader pressing a giant red button. The machines were working. That was the problem. This is the story of the flash crash. The afternoon when speed, automation, and disappearing buyers turned the world's deepest financial market into something no one seemed able to control. May 6, 2010 began under pressure. Europe's sovereign debt crisis was frightening investors. Demonstrations in Greece were on television, uncertainty was spreading, and American markets had already been falling for hours. By early afternoon, the Dow was down more than 300 points. That was serious, but it was still recognizable. Then the structure underneath the market began to break. Modern markets are not one room filled with people shouting. Orders move through exchanges, futures markets, electronic networks, and algorithms operating faster than any human can react. Normally, thousands of buyers and sellers create liquidity. If you want to sell, someone is usually willing to buy near the current price. But liquidity is not a permanent wall of money. It is a collection of orders that can disappear. At approximately 2:32 p.m. Eastern Time, a large investment firm began selling 75,000 E-mini S and P500 futures contracts worth more than $4 billion. Large orders are often divided carefully according to price, time, and available demand. This algorithm mainly targeted trading volume. As activity accelerated, it kept selling into the acceleration. High-frequency traders initially absorbed part of the order, but they did not want to hold that risk. They rapidly sold contracts to one another, creating what regulators later described as a hot potato effect. The same positions moved back and forth at enormous speed, while genuine buying interest weakened. In about 14 seconds, high-frequency traders exchanged more than 27,000 contracts, yet their combined holdings changed very little. The market appeared busy. Underneath, it was becoming empty. Prices in the futures market dropped. Algorithms connecting futures, exchange-traded funds, and individual stocks reacted. Selling pressure crossed from one market into another. Some liquidity providers reduced their activity because prices were moving too quickly and the information on their screens was becoming unreliable. The faster prices fell, the less willing buyers became to stand in front of them. Then the decline became a collapse. Between roughly 2:42 and 2:47, the Dow lost about 600 additional points. At its lowest moment, it was down almost 1,000 points for the day. The speed was extraordinary. Household names plunged. Some securities printed trades at 1 cent, others jumped to prices near $100,000. These were not thoughtful estimates of what businesses were worth. They were symptoms of a market that had temporarily lost the ability to discover a sensible price. Stop-loss orders became market orders. Automated strategies responded to other automated strategies. Data feeds moved at different speeds. Traders watching their screens could not know which prices were real, which would be cancelled, and where the next buyer would appear. In a system designed to process information instantly, uncertainty was spreading faster than certainty. And here is the most unsettling part. Many of the algorithms were not malfunctioning. They were following their instructions. Each individual decision could appear rational: reduce risk, follow volume, protect capital, avoid a chaotic market. Together, those decisions removed the buyers precisely when the market needed them most. If you enjoy documentaries that reveal the machinery behind money and power, subscribe to System Beneath. Because the next part explains how only 5 seconds helped interrupt a trillion-dollar panic. At 2:45 and 28 seconds, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange triggered a 5-second pause in E-mini trading. 5 seconds sounds meaningless to a person. To automated markets, it is an eternity. The pause allowed orders to accumulate participants to reassess prices, and buying interest to return. When trading resumed, the E-mini stabilized. Stocks began recovering almost as violently as they had fallen. Within about 20 minutes, much of the decline had reversed. But the recovery did not erase the damage. Investors had watched prices detach from reality. Exchanges later cancelled thousands of trades, judged clearly erroneous. Regulators now had to reconstruct billions of records across fragmented markets to understand what had happened. The joint investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission rejected the comforting idea of one simple mistake. There was no evidence that a classic fat finger order caused the event. The report described a nervous market, a huge automated sell program, shrinking liquidity, rapid trading among high-frequency firms, and a cascade across tightly connected venues. Years later, another character entered the story. Navinder Sarao traded E-mini futures from a house in suburban London. Prosecutors said he used spoofing, placing large orders he did not intend to execute, creating a false impression of supply before cancelling them. On the day of the flash crash, Sarao admitted entering at least 85 spoof orders that sometimes represented more than 20% of the visible sell orders in the E-mini market. Sarao pleaded guilty to wire fraud and spoofing, but describing him as the man who single-handedly caused the crash would be misleading. His activity contributed to an already fragile order book. The crash itself was a system-level event, a combination of manipulation, automation, market stress, disappearing liquidity, and feedback loops. That distinction matters. Catching one trader does not repair a structure capable of amplifying small shocks into global panic. After May 6th, regulators and exchanges expanded protections. Single-stock circuit breakers were introduced, followed by broader limit-up and limit-down rules designed to pause trading when prices move outside defined bands. Exchanges improved procedures for extreme volatility, and regulators gained better tools for analyzing electronic markets. The goal was not to make prices stop moving. It was to give the system time to breathe before speed destroyed the information that prices were supposed to represent. The flash crash also exposed a contradiction at the center of modern finance. Technology makes markets faster and often cheaper. Automated firms can provide liquidity, connect prices, and process information efficiently. But liquidity offered by machines may disappear when their models detect danger. A market can look deep during normal conditions and become almost empty during the seconds that matter most. Nearly $1 trillion had not physically left bank accounts that afternoon. Much of the apparent loss was temporary market value created by rapidly changing prices. But that does not make the event imaginary. Prices determine collateral, retirement balances, trading decisions, and confidence. For several minutes, the mechanism used to value corporate America produced answers that almost everyone knew were absurd. The deepest lesson was not that computers are evil or that human traders are safer. Humans designed the goals. Algorithms executed them. Exchanges connected the reactions. The failure emerged between the parts. On May 6, 2010, the market did not collapse because every machine stopped working. It collapsed because thousands of machines kept responding to one another at a speed that left humans and liquidity behind. The numbers returned. The illusion of control did not.